There's a truth in the American service industry. You're not just selling a product, you're managing expectations that occasionally defy physics. Some complaints aren't just unreasonable. They challenge the basic laws of logic. From the returns counter, to the late-night drive-thru, to customer service hotlines, to quiet HOA neighborhoods every single day, someone genuinely believes a product should read their mood or bend the universe slightly in their favor. No technical errors, no catastrophic failures, just requests that make employees freeze for 3 full seconds while their brain tries to reboot. 31 stories, and logic is about to take a personal day. Story 1. The air purifier that sucked all the air out. A man walked up to the returns counter with the kind of serious expression you'd expect from someone reporting a missing person. He set an air purifier down gently and said in a low, worried voice, "It sucked all the air out of my room." The employee blinked twice. "Sir, the air is still there. It's just cleaner." He shook his head. "No. I ran it for 3 straight hours. I don't see anything floating in the air anymore. It had to go somewhere." The employee tried to explain that air is invisible. The man crossed his arms. "Then prove it. Show me where the air is now." The entire counter went silent for exactly 3 seconds. One coworker slowly stepped away as if they had never met anyone at that desk before. In the end, the employee offered a refund. The man nodded satisfied, like he had just saved his family from an invisible catastrophe. And somewhere out there, physics quietly submitted a career change request. Story 2. The 75-inch TV that wouldn't fit through the door. This family wheeled a 75-inch TV back into the store, looking like they had just uncovered a major conspiracy. The husband spoke first. "The advertisement never mentioned that my front door needed to be big enough." The employee glanced at the TV, then mentally pictured a standard suburban doorway and gently asked, "Did you measure your door before buying it?" "No one said I had to do math," he replied confidently. "If you're selling TVs this big, you should make sure they fit into people's houses." The wife jumped in. "Is there a model that shrinks when it goes through the door, like a compact mode?" The entire counter went silent for exactly 3 seconds. One coworker suddenly became very busy reorganizing a shelf to avoid laughing. The employee suggested removing the door frame or hiring professional installers. The family looked at each other like they had just been advised to demolish their house over a holiday sale. They requested a refund due to impractical design. And somewhere mathematics simply froze. Story 3. Google Maps didn't avoid the X. A woman called tech support sounding deeply frustrated. "Your app has a serious problem," she said. "It just routed me past my ex's coffee shop." The employee responded gently. "Was the route incorrect, ma'am?" "No," she said, "but it failed to protect me emotionally." She proposed a new feature called an emotional safety option, one that would automatically avoid any streets, neighborhoods, restaurants, or gyms with potential emotional damage attached. At the very least, it should ask me what mood I'm in before choosing a route, she insisted. The employee calmly explained that Google Maps calculates based on distance and time, not romantic history. "Then update it," she sighed. "It's technology." The call ended, and somewhere a GPS voice continued to say, "Turn left in 200 meters." Completely unaware, a heart had just taken the wrong turn. Story 4. The wireless extension cord. A man walked into an electronics store with the confidence of someone who understands technology. He got straight to the point. "I need an extension cord, but the kind without a cord." The employee blinked. "You mean a power bank or a wireless charger?" No, he said, shaking his head. "I want to plug one end into the wall, the other into my TV, but without any messy wires. Science can do that by now, right?" The employee tried to explain that without a cord, electricity cannot exactly travel. He crossed his arms. "Then what's all this wireless stuff?" Don't tell me science just stopped improving. When shown portable batteries and power stations, he frowned. That's not it. I want it to work like an extension cord, just invisible. The entire counter fell silent for a few seconds, as if physics had just been called into an emergency meeting. Finally, the employee smiled politely. Sir, physics is not a software update. Story 5. Noise-canceling headphones that canceled the drama. A customer returned to the store looking genuinely disappointed. These headphones have a problem, she said. I bought the highest level noise canceling, and now I can't hear anything from the apartment next door. The employee paused. What exactly were you hoping to hear? She lowered her voice like it was classified information. They argue every night. I've been following the storyline. Now when I put these on, I lose the plot. The employee explained that noise canceling is specifically designed to remove surrounding sound. She sighed. I need a selective mode. Filter out traffic and construction, but keep the drama. She even suggested a firmware update called Selective Gossip Mode, because technology should be smarter by now. The employee smiled politely while internally reprocessing the entire definition of peace and quiet. The headphones worked perfectly. The expectations did not. Technology does not exist to support curiosity. Story 6. HOA, the tree, casting a shadow in the wrong direction. In a peaceful suburb with perfectly trimmed lawns, an HOA member filed an official complaint. The issue wasn't noise. It wasn't fencing. It was a shadow. My neighbor's tree casts a shadow onto my yard in the afternoon, he wrote. I do not approve of that direction. At the HOA meeting, he presented the matter with full seriousness, as if discussing building code violations. He proposed adjusting the sun's angle or requiring the neighbor to rotate the tree slightly for better alignment. Someone in the room cautiously asked, What exactly would you like them to do about the sun? He replied calmly, I don't know. But there has to be a solution. We pay HOA fees. The room went silent for several seconds, as if the earth itself had just been placed on a maintenance schedule. In the end, no resolution was passed, and the sun rose again the next morning. The earth continued rotating as usual. Story 7. The scale with an attitude. A customer walked into the store holding a digital scale like it had personally offended her. This thing isn't accurate, she said. It doesn't understand my body. The employee asked gently, What number is it showing? She sighed. That number does not reflect my effort. I had a salad yesterday. She explained that the scale should factor in emotions, effort, and positive energy. She even suggested a friendlier update, something that displays, You're doing great, instead of delivering a blunt number. The employee tried to clarify that scales measure weight, not life motivation. She shook her head. Then it lacks humanity. In the end, she left still convinced the device was the problem. The scale worked perfectly. The truth simply doesn't come with a gentle mode. Story 8. The product was too much like the advertisement. A customer brought a product back to the returns counter with a look of deep disappointment. It looks exactly like the picture on the website, she said, as if that were a serious accusation. The employee looked at the item, then at the advertisement photo on her phone. It was identical down to the smallest detail. Yes, that was the goal. She crossed her arms. I thought ordering online would come with a little surprise, like a slight difference, something more interesting. This is too accurate. The employee calmly explained that the product was designed to match the promotional images precisely. She sighed. Then it lacks personality. The entire counter froze for a few seconds, processing the idea that accuracy had become a flaw. In the end, she requested a refund for being exactly as expected. and somewhere marketing was just accused of doing its job too well. Story 9. The pilot didn't greet every passenger. A passenger sent a complaint email immediately after landing. The flight was on time, no turbulence, all luggage arrived. But according to him, there was one serious issue. The pilot did not come out to shake hands with every passenger. "I paid for my ticket," he wrote. "At the very least, I deserve a personal greeting." Customer service explained that the pilot must remain in the cockpit to prepare and operate the aircraft. He responded quickly, so he can't spare 5 minutes to show respect. He even suggested the airline host a meet and greet before takeoff like an artist greeting the audience. I want to see the person responsible for my life. The entire customer service team paused for a few seconds, processing. Finally, they replied politely that the pilot's priority is flying safely, because in reality, the cockpit is not a reception lounge. Story 10. A latte without coffee. But still tasting like coffee. A customer walked into a cafe looking determined. "I'd like a latte," she said, "but without caffeine." The barista smiled. "Sure, we can do decaf." She immediately shook her head. "No, I don't want any coffee in it at all. But it still has to taste like coffee. I love the flavor. I just don't like what it does." The barista froze for exactly 3 seconds. "So, you'd like milk with coffee flavor? Yes, technology is advanced now. There has to be a way." The barista gently explained that coffee flavor comes from coffee beans. If you remove them entirely, the taste goes with them. She sighed. Then you need to be more creative. In the end, a cup of steamed milk was placed on the counter. She stared at it like she had been betrayed. Because chemistry, unfortunately, does not negotiate. Story 11. The microwave that didn't heat emotions. A customer filed a complaint after purchasing a new microwave. He wrote that the product functions correctly, but lacks depth. Customer service called him back to clarify the issue. He explained, "I heated up my dinner. The food got hot, but my mood stayed cold. I believe the appliance should enhance the overall experience." The employee paused for a few seconds, processing the concept of microwave emotional engagement. He continued, "At the very least, it should have a mood enhancement setting. Warmer lighting, more encouraging sounds, something that makes me feel cared for." The employee gently explained that microwaves are designed to heat food, not resolve post-work existential fatigue. Then the advertising should specify that he replied. The call ended. The microwave continued working perfectly, because it is a kitchen appliance, not a licensed therapist. Story 12. The printer that needed ink to print. A customer walked into the store holding a printer and a sense of righteous frustration. "I bought this last week," he said. "Now it won't print anymore." The employee checked quickly. "It's showing an ink empty warning, sir." He sighed, like he had just uncovered a global conspiracy. "Exactly. No one told me I'd have to keep buying ink. I thought once you buy the printer, that's it." The employee gently explained that printers require ink to function, similar to how cars require fuel. He shook his head. "It's 2025. Why doesn't it sustain itself? At least there should be a lifetime version." He even suggested manufacturers create a self-regenerating ink system, because technology is advanced now. The entire counter stood still for a few seconds, trying to remember when office equipment became magical. In the end, he left with a new ink cartridge, because printing, despite rumors, is not sorcery. Story 13. NASA should lower the moon's brightness. An email was sent to the space agency with a serious subject line. Urgent. Nighttime lighting issue. The sender complained that the moon was too bright and disrupting their sleep. "I did not sign up for a spotlight aimed directly into my bedroom," the email read. "Please reduce brightness by 30%. Just a slight adjustment." The department receiving the message paused for a few seconds, briefly debating whether to forward the request to the solar system. The sender even suggested adding a night mode option for full moon evenings because technology can do anything now. A staff member politely responded that NASA does not control the moon's brightness and that moonlight is simply reflected sunlight. The reply came back quickly. Then talk to the sun. Somewhere beyond Earth's orbit, the moon continued shining as usual, because astronomy does not come with a dimmer switch. Story 14. The vacuum that cleaned too well. A customer returned to the store with a brand new vacuum and a deeply conflicted expression. "It works too well," he said. The employee thought he misheard. "Too well, sir?" "I vacuumed once and everything is gone," he explained. Not a single speck of dust left. Now I have no reason to keep going. I enjoy the feeling of gradual progress. He said the machine ends the cleaning process too quickly, leaving no time to build a sense of accomplishment. At the very least, it should leave a little dust behind. So I feel like I achieved something. The employee maintained a neutral expression while mentally processing the concept of partial cleaning mode. He even asked whether there was a low achievement setting. In the end, he decided to keep the vacuum, admitting he was not emotionally prepared for this level of efficiency. Because sometimes efficiency doesn't just clean the house, it quietly vacuums away your entire Saturday purpose. Story 15. The GPS was too bossy. A man filed a complaint about the GPS voice. "I don't like the way it gives orders," he wrote. "It says, 'Turn left now,' like I work for it." He suggested a friendlier version. Something like, "If you feel like it, maybe turn left, or you could consider turning right, depending on your mood today." In his opinion, navigation should feel collaborative, not authoritative. Customer support tried to explain the GPS instructions must be clear to prevent drivers from getting lost. He immediately replied, "I need emotional space while driving. I don't want technology pressuring me." The exchange slowly evolved into a debate about personal autonomy at intersections. In the end, he turned the voice off and decided to follow his instincts. He later called back because he was lost. Because routes are calculated by distance and time, not by personal vibe. Story 16. The escalator needed a pause button. A customer sent a complaint to the mall because the escalator was, in his words, moving too decisively. He felt it didn't give him enough time to think between the first and second floor. "I just want to pause halfway to check my phone," he wrote. "But it keeps going. This design lacks flexibility." He suggested adding a pause button so users could rest mid-escalation. "Not every time I step on, I'm emotionally ready to reach the next level," he explained like he was discussing a major life decision. Mall management gently replied that if he needed to stop, he could simply stand still at the end or use the elevator. He responded, "I don't want to fully commit to the elevator." The management team sat in silence for a few seconds trying to process the idea of non-commitment to vertical transportation, because that is quite literally why elevators exist. Story 17. The blanket that didn't generate its own heat. A customer left a 1-star review on a newly purchased blanket with a deeply disappointed note. "It's 2025, and I still have to warm it up myself." He explained that when he pulled the blanket over himself, it didn't heat up immediately. "I lay there for 5 minutes and nothing happened. I expected it to be more proactive." Customer service gently replied that blankets function by trapping the user's body heat. He quickly responded, "So I'm still doing most of the work. Where's the technology?" He even suggested the company develop a default self-heating mode, arguing, "We have self-driving cars, we have AI that can talk, and blankets are still passive." The representative patiently explained that heated blankets already exist on the market. A silence followed for several seconds. Because sometimes the solution has existed for years. It just needs to be plugged in. Story 18. The washing machine that made clothes wet. A customer called customer support sounding genuinely concerned. "There's something wrong with my washing machine," she said. "I opened it and the clothes were still wet." The representative asked gently, "Did you wait until the cycle finished?" "No," she replied. "I opened it halfway through to check. I assumed it would gradually dry as it worked." The employee carefully explained that in the early stages the machine needs water to wash, and only after the spin cycle completes do the clothes become less wet. She sighed. "So it actually has to finish the whole process to work properly. I expected more advanced technology." She then asked whether there was an instant wash and dry mode because waiting doesn't fit into my schedule. The call ended after several minutes of explaining the concept of a cycle, because washing machines are not magic, and cycles, despite personal timelines, must be completed. Story 19. Body temperature changes during the day. A customer returned to the pharmacy holding a thermometer and a look of deep suspicion. "This thing isn't consistent," he said. "This morning it read 98.6. Tonight it says 99.1. It needs to pick a number." The employee gently explained that body temperature naturally fluctuates throughout the day. He shook his head. "I need something more stable. I don't like variability." He argued that the product should lock in one steady number for peace of mind. He even asked if there was a version with less fluctuation, because health should be clear. The employee tried to clarify that this was normal biological behavior, not a technical malfunction. He remained unconvinced. "Then why doesn't it just display the average?" The exchange ended with advice to monitor symptoms if anything unusual appeared, because biology does not function like a printer, and the human body does not come with a fixed setting. Story 20. Oh, batteries keep dying when you use them. A man walked into a convenience store carrying a bag of used batteries and a deeply suspicious attitude. "I bought the premium ones," he said, "and they still died." The employee asked calmly, "How long did you use them, sir?" "About 3 weeks," he replied, as if presenting evidence in a courtroom. "I thought modern batteries were supposed to last. If they run out when you use them, isn't that basically a scam?" The employee explained that batteries convert chemical energy into electricity, and when that energy is depleted, they stop. He crossed his arms. "There's no eternal version. We have high-speed internet and batteries still need replacing." When rechargeable options were suggested, he frowned. "So now I have to charge them too." The entire counter went quiet for a few seconds, resisting the urge to conduct a live physics seminar. In the end, he purchased another pack, because energy is finite, and the laws of conservation do not accept complaints. Story 21. Wi-Fi should be sold in a bottle. A customer walked into an electronics store and said very seriously, "I want to buy Wi-Fi." The employee smiled. "Sure. Are you looking for a router or an internet plan from a provider?" He shook his head. "Number 1. I want Wi-Fi. Something I can take home, open, and use. Don't tell me it's not in stock." The employee tried to explain that Wi-Fi is a wireless signal transmitted through radio waves, not a physical object you can hold. He frowned. "But it's called wireless. No wires means portable, right?" He even suggested selling Wi-Fi in bottles or boxes like bottled water. Just twist the cap, and boom, internet. The entire counter fell silent for a few seconds, trying to determine whether this was satire or complete sincerity. In the end, the employee recommended an internet service plan, because signals cannot be bottled, and radio waves do not come with barcodes. Story 22. The fan that creates wind in a room that already has air. A customer called technical support sounding suspicious. "I have a question," he said. "My room already has air in it. So when I turn on the fan, where is the extra wind coming from?" The employee paused for 2 seconds to confirm reality. "Sir, a fan doesn't create new air. It simply moves the air that's already there." He wasn't convinced. "But when I turn it on, I feel way more wind. So it must be producing something." The representative began explaining airflow pressure differences and how the blades circulate air around the room. He interrupted. "That sounds like you're avoiding the question." He then seriously asked whether the fan might be pulling air from the neighbor's apartment. The call ended with an unexpected refresher on basic physics. Because fans do not manufacture new air. They just make the existing air move faster. Story 23. The binoculars didn't keep things close. A customer returned to the sporting goods store holding a pair of binoculars and a deeply disappointed expression. "It doesn't work the way I expected," he said. The employee asked, "Is there an issue with the magnification?" He shook his head. "When I look through them, everything is close. But when I put them down, things are far again." "So what's the point?" The employee paused for 2 seconds to confirm this was real life. He continued, "I thought the effect would last a little while, like my eyes would get a temporary upgrade." The employee explained that binoculars only magnify while you're looking through them. He frowned. "So I have to keep holding them up the whole time." The counter went silent for a few seconds, resisting the urge to start a live optics seminar. Because binoculars do not alter physical distance, and they are definitely not teleportation devices. Story 24. The bill arrived too early and caused stress. A customer sent an emotional complaint email because her bill arrived too early. "The due date is the 15th, she wrote, "but I received it on the 5th. Who is responsible for those 10 days of anxiety?" Customer service explained that sending bills early gives customers more time to prepare financially. She disagreed. "You should check whether I'm mentally ready before sending it." She even proposed a new feature called Emotional Billing Mode, a system that only delivers invoices when the customer feels calm enough to read them. If apps can track sleep and heart rate, surely they can measure stress levels too. The employee maintained a neutral tone, explaining the billing systems operate on fixed monthly schedules. She sighed. Then the system should be more flexible with human feelings. In the end, the bill continued arriving on schedule, because time does not operate on emotion, and calendars do not include psychological sensitivity settings. Story 25. Insurance didn't refund him for having no accidents. A customer called his insurance company, sounding genuinely upset. "I've been paying premiums all year," he said, "and nothing happened. So where's my money?" The representative explained that insurance premiums provide protection in case of risk, not a refundable savings account. He disagreed immediately. "If I don't use the service, I should get my money back. That's fair." He compared it to buying a movie ticket. "If the movie doesn't play, I get a refund. I didn't use any accidents." The employee calmly clarified that the goal of insurance is actually not to use it. He responded, "So I'm paying for nothing to happen." The call ended after several minutes of explaining the concept of risk management. Because it's insurance, not a lottery for unfortunate days. Story 26. The water filter. Remove the familiar flavor. A customer returned to the store holding an unopened water filter box, looking disappointed. "It works too well," she said. The employee asked gently, "What do you mean?" "The water doesn't taste like it used to," she explained. "Before it had a slight metallic hint, a little mineral vibe. Now when I drink it, there's nothing." The employee smiled. "That's because it removed the impurities." She shook her head. "I didn't buy it to erase the water's personality. I just wanted it a little cleaner, not clinically pure." She even asked if there was a partial filter mode that could keep a trace of the old flavor for familiarity. The counter went quiet for a few seconds, processing the concept of nostalgia in tap water. In the end, she kept the filter, admitting she was still adjusting to perfection. Because sometimes purity can feel strangely disappointing. Story 27. The flashlight only worked in the dark. A customer returned to the store holding a flashlight with a very serious expression. "This thing has a problem," he said. "I turned it on at noon and didn't notice any difference." The employee asked, "Have you tried it in the dark?" "Yes," he replied. "At night it's bright, but during the day it's useless. I need a product that performs at all times." The employee explained that a flashlight's beam is harder to see when the surrounding area is already bright. He shook his head. "So it only works when it's needed. I want visible impact." He even suggested adding a day mode so the beam would stand out under direct sunlight. The counter went silent for a few seconds, considering whether to introduce the concept of light contrast. In the end, he took the flashlight home, still not entirely convinced. Because light only stands out when there is darkness. And physics doesn't come with a marketing mode. Story 28. The drive-thru didn't offer a live burger broadcast. A customer pulled up to the drive-thru window and refused to move. "I need to watch them make my burger," he said seriously. "I can't just take your word for it." The employee explained that the kitchen is located in the back and food preparation is not live-streamed. He wasn't satisfied. "Then how do I know it's real? I need visual proof." He suggested the restaurant install live cameras in the kitchen so customers could follow the entire journey of their burger, from grill placement to final wrapping. "It's the era of transparency," he insisted. "Trust must be built." The employee kept a steady tone while the cars behind him began honking. "Sir, we guarantee your meal is prepared according to procedure." He shook his head. "I don't trust procedures. I trust video. Because the kitchen is not a reality show. And a burger does not require a premiere screening." Story 29. The GPS didn't predict her rainy day mood. A customer sent a long emotional feedback message to a map app. "Yesterday it was raining," she wrote, "and the app still chose the highway. My mood clearly needed a quieter road." Support asked politely, "Was the route incorrect?" "No," she replied. "But it didn't understand me. Rainy days call for smaller streets, more trees, soft sad music in the background. Not a crowded freeway." She proposed a new feature, mood-based routing. The system should ask before departure whether you're feeling sad, happy, or reflective. "Technology personalizes everything now," she added. Support explained that GPS optimizes for time and traffic, not emotional atmosphere. She sighed. "Then it's not truly smart yet, because weather can be forecast. But human moods do not come with reliable navigation data." Story 30. The thermos that kept things hot for too long. A customer returned to the store holding a thermal bottle with visible suspicion. "There's something unusual about this," he said. "I poured coffee in this morning and by noon it was still hot." The employee smiled. "That's the insulation feature, sir." He shook his head. "I didn't expect it to last that long. I assumed it would cool down naturally. Realistically." He explained that opening the lid and still seeing steam rise made him slightly uncomfortable. In his view, the product should simulate the passage of time more reasonably. The employee maintained a professional expression while internally processing the concept of emotionally balanced heat retention. In the end, he decided to keep the bottle, but said he would monitor the situation, because it is a thermos, and retaining heat extremely well is still retaining heat correctly. Story 31. The product refused to break, so he could use the warranty. A customer called support sounding deeply disappointed. "I bought the 3-year extended warranty," he said, "and the product is still working perfectly. So where did my money go?" The representative explained that warranties are meant to be used if something goes wrong. He replied immediately, but nothing went wrong. I paid for coverage and didn't get to use it. That's a waste. He even asked whether there was a way to trigger a minor issue so he could take advantage of the benefit before it expired. Just a small malfunction, he added, enough to make it worth it. The employee paused for several seconds, confirming this was not satire. Sir, warranties exist to prevent financial risk, not to create it, he sighed. So I'm paying for nothing to happen. The call ended in thoughtful silence. And at that exact moment, common sense officially left the building. 31 complaints, not a single technical failure, just logic quitting, without sending a resignation email. If you've ever worked in customer service, you know that 3-second freeze, that moment where you stare into space and quietly ask yourself, what did I just hear? Some days you're not fixing products, you're adjusting expectations. Now it's your turn. What's the most absurd complaint you've ever heard? Drop it in the comments so we can collectively recheck the laws of physics. Like if you've never emailed NASA asking them to dim the moon. And subscribe if you want to see whether logic shows up to work in the next episode. Until then, keep your common sense very, very close.